Hello everyone, this is Nermin Ahmed, come from Egypt. I'm a lecturer in the Faculty of Pharmacy and Biotechnology, the German University in Cairo. Today, I want to take you through a journey with the Egyptian women, coming from here, from the papyrus paper, until they were featured on the cover of the Time magazine. So it's a very long journey in terms of time, but today we will make it in 20 minutes. So I will tell you a little bit about women in ancient Egypt. I'm going to highlight some about the figures of Egypt, modern Egypt, of course. And now I then will tell you something about women in the Egyptian revolution, and then our status now, post-revolution. And finally, I'll tell you what did we earn in the new constitution, and then I will tell you what I think should happen so that women can help women. So, this is Hatshepsut. She was a very lucky queen. She was actually in a culture and a civilization that respects women, that even allowed women to go till the top of authority. She was a pharaoh, one who was greatly admired and respected by her people. This is Hatshepsut. This woman really supported her husband in the first religious revolution, and he paid his life for it. Hypatia, she's very much touching me because she was the first woman lecturer in the Bibliothèque of Alexandria. She was a mathematician, the first ever female dean, and finally she was a martyr. She paid her life because, you know, it's always like this when extremism prevail, women pays first. She was assassinated and she was killed by some fanatics back there in Alexandria. This nice lady is Huda Sha'rawi. She is the first woman to go unveiled into streets. She went to protest against the British occupation. For those who does not know much about Egypt, I would like to tell you we are a country of 83.7 million population. We are actually a very young country. You may see we have 38% of our population aged 25 to 54. So we have great potential, great youth. We had once a very good GDP which reached 7.1%. This was back in 2007. Unfortunately, since the overthrow of Mubarak, we have certainly had a decline in this GDP, but this is what you pay for change. And we're willing to pay this. Most of our income is coming from tourism, and again, we had faced this problem since the past 3 years. Of course, you may expect under this condition that the numbers was a little bit falling down. When we come to this, I hate saying this male-female thing, but we have to admit it. We have 25% unemployed females, but we have 10% only unemployed males. This is a number that we should work on. This was even interesting for me myself to see what are the fields that are mostly occupied by women in Egypt. It was mainly in the agriculture thing. Proudly to say in education, we're representing 21%, while male is only representing 6%. It goes with motherhood probably. And finally in the services, we're representing about 13%. And strangely, we're very much low represented in the field of tourism and hotels. And maybe this is a little bit a cultural thing that does not prefer that women work in the field of hospitality. So women in the revolution, for those also who are not very much familiar with what has been going in Egypt, Egyptians swept streets in millions twice in the past 3 years. We have changed 2 regiments in the past 3 years, starting from 2011 until 2013. People were estimated to be 25, 30, 35 million in the streets, and it's always estimated that 50% of this number were women. Maybe some of you remember these photos from Tahrir Square where people had the largest sit-in. You may remember those women fighting, screaming, and even challenging the worst condition in front of the security forces. You may remember seeing women from all ages veiled and unveiled. My son keeps saying even the most beautiful ladies were in the revolution. He picked this picture. And then finally we found Muslim and Christians hand in hand in the streets. What we went for Sweeping all the streets was equality, liberty, and economic prosperity. But where are we standing now? And I'm talking not from a political point of view, I'm talking from a women point of view. Unfortunately, the 3 past years have seen a lot of violence in the streets. Women, as expected, were the first victims of this violence. Again, there was a rise in the number of unemployment, and unfortunately, women were the first to be unemployed. But strangely, and this is what we really need to discuss as women, when women were 25 million having the right to vote, and they went to elect the first People's Assembly, we were represented by 2.2%. We have 25 billion, 50% of the voters as women, and they chose to be represented only by 2.2% of the women. This is strange. This is what we need to work on. And then, as I told you, we are people who really like to have change, so we had 2 constitution committees. We had one in 2012, and with what we have was only 6% of the people of this committee as women. In 2014, we had a new committee, and again, the number raised a little bit, but it was nothing but more than 10%. So again, only the 50% of the society was only represented in 10% to write the constitution, to make our future choices. Where do we stand now? We're a little bit better. We have some new rights that we took in this new constitution. We have the role of full citizenship, which means that the children of an Egyptian woman will be fully Egyptian. We succeeded in determining a limit age for marriage. It's 18 years old. We have the right to be well represented in all the parliament and all the authority bodies, and to get posts in most of the governmental positions. And now the government had, in the new constitution, they had made promises that they have to give more care for poor women and elderly women. So, are we on the right track? What else are we missing? This is what I think we're missing. We need to trust each other. We need to stand in lines for hours, in the election lines, to represent women who can fight for our rights. It's very strange. If women do not trust women, how would you like a man to vote for a woman? We need to encourage each other. I still keep in mind the photos of Malala when Malala was shot, and when all the women in her country went to Friday prayers asking for her safety. We need to see those women, and we need to support them and encourage them. And we need to assemble with each other. We need to assemble with each other like we are doing today. We need to assemble each other in lobbies. We need to work in parties together. Women should work on being together, helping each other. And finally, what we need to do is to mentor each other. This is something I learned from a Tech Women program. Mentoring is not very much in focus in Egypt. But back in the United States, it's very much in focus. This is something we lack in the Arab world. We need to mentor each other. Those women who have experience should work to mentor the less experienced one. The privileged one should work with the less privileged one. Those who were lucky enough to travel abroad and get chances to meet people with other cultures should work with those who can never leave their country. We need to start mentoring each other, and we need to start fighting for each other, and we need to start assembling each other, and finally we need to trust each other. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure being here with you. Thank you, Meera, for all your efforts. Thank you.